The city was quiet, but everyone could feel something was wrong. The sky carried a heavy glow, as if storms were waiting behind the clouds. People whispered about strange shadows seen beyond the ruins, shadows that did not belong to humans. The soldiers on guard held their weapons tighter, but their eyes betrayed fear. They knew what was coming was not an ordinary enemy. It was something old, something the galaxy itself feared. In the middle of this silence, a lone human soldier walked through the broken streets. His boots crushed the dust, his mind heavy with questions. He had fought in battles before, but none like this. Rumors spoke of an alien huntress who controlled a monster unlike anything seen before. A creature with glowing eyes, claws that could tear through tanks, and a mind bound to its master's will. No army had survived against it. Yet here he was, a single human among ruins, waiting to face what entire fleets had failed to stop. The ground shook before he saw her. She appeared out of the mist like a ghost, tall and graceful, her skin marked with glowing patterns that shimmered in the sunlight. Her eyes burned with pride and confidence, the kind that came from knowing no one could stand against her. Beside her moved the beast. Its body was larger than a house, its scales black as stone but alive with emerald light. Every breath it released sounded like thunder. Every step cracked the earth. The soldiers watching from a distance whispered in terror. The huntress smiled when she saw the human. To her, he was nothing more than prey. She had faced armored warriors, alien kings, even machines built for war. They all fell the moment her beast struck. And yet this man stood with no fear in his eyes, only calm resolve. That unsettled her, though she did not show it. "Do you understand what stands before you?" she asked, her voice sharp like steel. "This creature has ended empires. Entire worlds fell when it obeyed my command. You will be no different." The human did not move. He simply studied the beast, his eyes following the rhythm of its breathing, the twitch of its claws, the glow in its chest. Then he did something no one expected. He took one step forward. The soldiers behind him gasped. Even the alien huntress tilted her head in disbelief. No one walked toward the beast. They either ran or died. The monster roared, a sound that shook walls to dust. Its eyes glowed brighter, waiting for the order to attack. But before the huntress could speak, the human raised his hand. Not in fear, not in surrender, but with authority. His voice was steady when he spoke. "Stand down." The impossible happened. The beast froze. Its growl faded into silence. Slowly, the giant head lowered, and its glowing eyes dimmed. The creature obeyed. It did not move against him, it did not strike. It bowed. Gasps filled the air. The soldiers who were ready to flee now stared in shock. The huntress herself could not hide her disbelief. For the first time, her command meant nothing. The bond she thought was unbreakable had been challenged by a single human word. Her lips trembled before she forced her expression back into control. "How?" she whispered, her voice more to herself than anyone else. The beast she had raised, the killer pet bound to her will, had listened to someone else. The human looked at her, his calm gaze unshaken. "Because it recognizes something in me that you don't," he said quietly. "Something you cannot command." The huntress felt a chill run through her. She was no longer certain of her victory. For the first time in countless battles, doubt entered her heart. The huntress stood frozen as her beast lowered its head to the human. Her breath caught in her throat. She had raised this creature since it was small enough to fit inside her, arms feeding it with her own blood, binding it with the rituals of her people. It had never defied her, never ignored her voice, never even hesitated when she gave an order. And yet now, with one command from a human, it bent its will to another. The soldiers watching from the ruins could not believe their eyes. Some whispered that the human had discovered ancient magic. Others thought he had hidden technology, but no one dared move closer. They all knew the beast could turn in an instant and crush them. The human did not move with arrogance. He kept his stance calm, his hand still raised as though steadying the creature's heart. The monster's breathing slowed. Its claws no longer dug into the ground. For the first time since anyone had seen it, the beast looked at peace. The huntress narrowed her glowing eyes. She felt anger rising in her chest, mixed with something she despised even more. Fear. Her pride demanded she strike him down. Her instincts whispered caution. "You think you have control," she said, her voice cutting through the silence. "But this bond is mine. You are only tricking it." The human glanced at her. His gaze was steady, unreadable. "I'm not tricking it. It knows what I am. That's why it listens." Her jaw tightened. She had heard stories of humans, creatures from a so-called death world, a planet so hostile that even their plants killed without mercy. Many in the galaxy thought humans were fragile, reckless, unworthy of fear. But deep down, the old tales suggested otherwise. Tales of humans taming monsters, walking through storms, surviving where others would die in moments. She never believed them, until now. The beast shifted its head, leaning closer to the human as if waiting for another command. The sight burned her pride. She clenched her fists, her claws digging into her palms. "You dare challenge me with my own creation?" she hissed. "I didn't challenge you," the human replied softly. "It chose me." The words cut deeper than any blade. For her people, the bond with a beast was sacred, sealed through pain and sacrifice. To think that bond could be broken, or worse, transferred, was unthinkable. She took a step forward, her anger boiling. "Then let us see if it obeys you in battle," she spat. With a snap of her fingers, her armor unfolded across her body, plates of dark metal glowing with the same green light that pulsed through the beast. "If it follows you, then command it to protect you from me." The human's expression did not change. He lowered his hand and took a steady breath. The soldiers watching from afar felt their stomachs twist. They were witnessing something no one had ever seen, a duel not just of strength but of will. The huntress launched herself forward faster than most could follow. Her blade hummed with energy, aimed straight for the human's chest. The beast roared, but it did not attack him. Instead, it swung its massive claw between them, blocking her strike. The ground shattered under the force, dust and stones flying in all directions. The huntress stumbled back, shock flashing across her face. The beast had not only obeyed the human's command, it had acted against her. For a long moment, the air was filled only with the sound of the creature's growl. Its glowing eyes were fixed not on its mistress but on her target, on the woman it had once served. The huntress felt her pride crumbling. Her people would never forgive this shame. The bond was broken, and worse, it had been stolen by the one creature she thought least capable of such power, a human. But deep in her heart, beneath the anger and the humiliation, something else stirred. Curiosity. Who was this man, really? And why did her killer pet see him as master? The ground still shook from the beast's strike. The soldiers hiding in the ruins could hardly believe they were alive. None dared speak, afraid their voices would break the strange spell holding the creature back. The huntress stood with her weapon lowered, her chest rising and falling quickly. Her heart was filled with emotions she had never felt together before. Rage, disbelief, shame, and something she hated even more than defeat. Curiosity. She could not understand how this human had stolen the loyalty of her killer pet. The human lowered his hand, his calm presence unchanged even though the beast had just defied its mistress for him. He walked slowly, each step steady, his eyes never leaving the creature. The massive monster lowered its head again, waiting like a guard, awaiting orders. "You are not afraid," the huntress said. Her voice was quieter now, but edged with bitterness. "Every warrior I've faced has broken before this beast. You stand as if death does not matter." The human finally looked at her. "Fear only feeds it," he said. "You raised it on terror. But creatures like this, they know when someone sees them for what they are, not what they're forced to be." Her jaw clenched. His words stung because they carried truth. She remembered the rituals of her people, how they forced the beast to obey through pain, hunger, and fear. She had never considered another way. To her, control was power. But now she saw something different. Respect. The soldiers whispered from a distance. Maybe this is why humans are feared, one said. Not for their weapons, but for what follows them. The huntress ignored their voices. Her pride demanded she restore control. But inside, she wondered if she had already lost something. She could never recover. She straightened, her glowing eyes fixed on the human. You have no idea what you've done. My people will not allow this insult. They will come for you, for your kind. The human's gaze did not falter. Let them, he said simply. The words echoed louder than any roar. He was not boasting, not threatening. He was simply stating truth. The huntress found herself unsettled again, not because he was arrogant, but because he truly believed it. The beast growled softly, its giant body leaning closer to the human like a shield. The huntress felt as though she were watching her own creation slip further away, and it tore at her pride. Yet a thought crept into her mind, one that refused to leave. Perhaps this was not weakness. Perhaps there was something to learn from this strange man. From the shadows, one of the soldiers stepped forward. He was trembling, but his voice carried enough for all to hear. What are you? The human looked at him, then back at the huntress. His answer was simple. I'm human. The word struck heavier than any weapon. It was not shouted, not dressed with pride, only spoken with certainty. And yet, it carried the weight of a force none of them understood. The huntress lowered her blade. For the first time in years, she felt unsure of her place. She had always seen herself as above others, the master of a beast no one could challenge. But now she stood across from a human whose calm presence had undone everything she thought she knew. The beast shifted again, letting out a low sound like a growl mixed with a sigh. The human reached up and touched its scaled head without fear. The monster leaned into his touch like a loyal companion. The huntress could hardly breathe as she watched. Somewhere deep inside, she felt a fire ignite. It was not the fire of hatred, though her pride tried to twist it that way. It was something else. An unwilling fascination with the human who had done the impossible. The huntress stood in silence as the human stroked the beast's massive head. Her people's strongest creation, a living weapon of war, now bent to another's will. She felt heat rise in her chest, but not from anger alone. She was torn between fury at losing control and the strange pull of curiosity toward this human. The sound of ships soon broke the tense calm. From the horizon, black vessels descended, their engines humming with power. They bore the markings of the huntress's clan, sharp symbols etched into their hulls. Soldiers poured out, armored and armed, their glowing eyes scanning the ruins. The huntress's expression hardened. She knew what they saw, her beast standing beside the human, loyal not to her but to him. Her people's eyes widened in disbelief, then narrowed in rage. Their voices rose in anger, questioning her, cursing the sight. How can this be? One of her captains shouted. The sacred bond is broken. She has lost control. Another growled. The beast has betrayed us. The soldiers raised their weapons toward the human, but the beast moved instantly, placing its massive body between him and the advancing warriors. It growled, its emerald glow pulsing brighter, daring anyone to come closer. The soldiers faltered, fear spreading across their faces. None wished to be the first to test the beast's loyalty. The huntress raised her hand. Stand down, she commanded. The soldiers froze, uncertain. Their eyes shifted between her and the human, between tradition and the impossible reality before them. Her captain stepped forward, anger blazing in his voice. You cannot allow this, my lady. The elders will see this as weakness. The beast has chosen another. The punishment is clear. You and this human must both die. Her heart tightened. She had always known the laws of her clan. If a beast turned on its master, both were considered unworthy. It was meant to prevent shame, to keep their power pure. And now, before all eyes, She stood as the symbol of failure. She looked at the human. He did not flinch, even as dozens of weapons pointed his way. He simply stood, calm, with the beast guarding him. His eyes met hers, steady and unwavering. Something in that gaze unsettled her again. There was no fear, no doubt, only certainty. The captain raised his weapon, ready to fire. But the huntress stepped in front of him. Her soldiers gasped. She had never protected anyone before, not an ally, not even her own clan members, and now she stood between her people and a human. "Lower your weapons," she said coldly. The captain snarled. "You betray us." "I do not betray," she replied, her voice sharp as a blade. "I lead, and if this creature chose him, then we will understand why. We do not kill what we cannot comprehend." Her people hesitated. Some lowered their weapons, others muttered angrily. The captain's glare burned with hatred, but he obeyed her order. The human watched silently, saying nothing. He did not need to. His calm presence alone spoke louder than any words. The huntress turned back to him, her eyes narrowing. "Do not mistake this for mercy," she said. "You have brought shame upon me before my people. You will explain how and why, or I will tear the truth from you myself." The human gave a small nod. "Then listen," he said. "Because your laws are wrong. You believe control is built on fear. But this beast understands strength differently. It follows the one it trusts, not the one who terrifies it." Her people whispered again. The idea was dangerous, even heretical. But the beast's posture left no room for denial. The truth was right before them, glowing in its emerald eyes. The huntress felt her pride bleeding, but she could not ignore the weight of his words. For the first time, she wondered if the galaxy's stories about humans were not exaggerations, but warnings. The soldiers withdrew for the moment, but their anger burned hot in the air. Whispers moved through their ranks like fire in dry grass. They wanted answers, or blood. The huntress stood rigid, her pride like a shield, though she felt cracks spreading within. The sound of larger ships soon followed. Massive carriers descended, dark shadows covering the ruins. From their hulls emerged figures cloaked in long robes, their eyes glowing brighter than the others. The elders of her clan had arrived. The soldiers bowed their heads, their fear mixed with reverence. The huntress's heart sank. She knew what their presence meant. Judgment. The eldest stepped forward, his voice cold and sharp as stone. "Daughter of the Veyron," he said, addressing her formally. "We have witnessed your failure through the eyes of your warriors. The sacred bond is broken. The beast no longer serves you. The law is clear." She bowed her head slightly, though rage boiled within her. To be shamed before the elders was worse than death. Yet she lifted her chin again, forcing strength into her voice. "The beast has not abandoned us. It has chosen differently. It follows strength still, but not the kind we have always believed in." The elders' eyes narrowed. "You dare claim wisdom beyond the ancestors? You dare say fear is not enough?" Murmurs rose among the gathered soldiers. Some sneered, others looked uncertain. The huntress's words cut against everything they had been taught, yet none could deny what they had seen. The beast bowed to the human, not to her. The elder's gaze shifted to the human. His expression held no anger, only curiosity. "And you, outsider, you who are not of our kind, what power binds this creature to your will?" The human stood calmly, the beast looming, at his side like a guardian. He did not bow, though dozens of weapons surrounded him. His voice was quiet, but it carried through the silence. "I don't bind it. I don't rule it with pain. It listens because I see it as more than a weapon." The elders frowned. Such words were foreign to them, almost laughable. But the beast's posture could not be ignored. Its massive body rested near the human with a calmness no one had ever seen. The eldest raised his staff. "Words are empty. Only proof matters. If you claim strength, then show it. Command the beast before us. If it obeys, you live. If not, you both die. The soldiers stirred, eager for blood. The huntress felt her chest tighten. She wanted him to fail. Her pride screamed for it. Yet another part of her, buried deep, wanted to see him succeed. She hated herself for it. The human nodded once. He stepped forward, placing his hand on the beast's scaled head. The monster's glowing eyes fixed on him, waiting. The silence was so thick, it crushed the air. "Rise," the human said. The beast stood tall, its massive body towering over all. Dust rolled off its scales as it unfurled its wings with a thunderous snap. The soldiers flinched back, some falling to their knees. The elder's glowing eyes widened, though they tried to mask their shock. The human's voice carried again. "Kneel." The beast lowered its body, pressing its great head against the ground before him. Its glowing eyes dimmed in submission. The act sent a ripple of disbelief through the entire gathering. Gasps broke the silence. Warriors who had served their clan for decades stared with open mouths. The huntress's heart pounded. She wanted to shout, to deny what she saw, but her own eyes betrayed her. Her beast had chosen. The elder's staff trembled in his hand. For the first time in centuries, his voice faltered. "Impossible," he whispered. The human turned, his gaze sweeping over the crowd. "It's not impossible. You've just forgotten what real strength is." The words fell heavy, like stones dropped into a still lake. The ripples would spread far beyond these ruins. The ruins buzzed with voices as the beast lowered itself in front of the human. Warriors who once mocked the fragility of humans now whispered in disbelief. Some looked away, ashamed of their fear, while others stared as if witnessing a legend come to life. The elders gathered in a circle, their cloaks brushing the dust, their glowing eyes flickering as they spoke in their own tongue. Their words rose and fell like a storm, sharp and heated. Though the soldiers could not hear clearly, their anger was obvious. The eldest slammed his staff against the stone. The sound silenced all. His voice thundered across the ruins. "This cannot stand. A beast of our bloodline kneels to an outsider. Our laws demand blood. The human dies, and the beast is destroyed to cleanse the shame." A roar of approval came from many of the soldiers. But not all. Some shifted uneasily, their eyes flicking back to the kneeling creature. Killing such a beast felt like throwing away something sacred. The huntress stood still, her fists clenched. Her pride told her the elder was right. Her clan's honor demanded the human's death. Yet when she looked at him, calm and steady even as death loomed, something inside her twisted. He had done what she could not. He had not broken the beast. With fear, he had earned its loyalty. Part of her hated him for it. Another part could not stop admiring it. One of the younger elders stepped forward. His voice was softer but carried weight. "Perhaps we should not rush. The beast has chosen. Maybe this is no weakness. Maybe this is a lesson. The galaxy whispers that humans are strange, touched by their death world. What if this man proves those whispers true?" The eldest elder glared at him. "Are you suggesting we bow to an outsider? That we discard the laws carved into our bones?" The younger elder's eyes flicked to the human. "I suggest we watch before we destroy what we do not understand." "Yes," soldiers muttered again, divided. The air grew heavy, a battle of tradition against something new. The huntress's captain stepped forward, fury burning in his voice. "Enough of this weakness. He has humiliated our mistress, he has corrupted her beast. Kill him now before his poison spreads to us all." The beast's growl shook the ground. The captain froze mid-step, his eyes wide as the creature rose to its full height. Its emerald glow pulsed brighter, its wings spreading as if to shield the human. No soldier dared move closer. The eldest raised his staff again. His face was tight with anger, but also fear. "We are losing control. This is why the law exists. Kill the human. End this blasphemy." The huntress's voice cut through before he could finish. "No, The words struck like lightning. All eyes turned to her. She stood tall, her armor glowing faintly, her gaze steady though her heart pounded. "This is not weakness," she said. "I raise the beast through pain. He won it through respect. If you kill him, you blind yourselves. If you destroy the beast, you destroy the truth before you." The eldest's eyes narrowed dangerously. "You defend him?" The huntress did not look away. "I defend what I saw with my own eyes." The crowd erupted. Some soldiers shouted that she was betraying her people. Others argued she was right. For the first time, the unity of her clan cracked in full view. The human remained silent, letting the storm rage. His calm presence only fed the confusion. To the huntress, that silence was louder than any words. The eldest finally raised his staff high. "Then we shall take this to the council. Let all the clans see what has happened here. Let them decide the fate of the human, and yours." The huntress's chest tightened. She knew what the council's judgment could mean. But as she glanced at the human, standing steady with the beast at his side, she realized something had already changed. Her loyalty to her clan no longer felt as certain as it once had. The journey to the council chamber was tense. The human walked at the center, the beast lumbering beside him like a shadow. The huntress followed close, her eyes sharp, though her mind churned with doubt. Around them marched her clan's soldiers, weapons ready, but none dared move against the creature that obeyed only the human. Their ships carried them across the black void of space faster than light, toward the capital where the council of clans gathered. It was a place of judgment where tradition weighed heavier than truth. The huntress knew the council would not look kindly upon what had happened. Yet part of her burned with a strange hope that they would see what she had seen. The capital was carved from a mountain of black stone, its towers reaching like claws toward the sky. Thousands of warriors lined the steps as the human and beast were led forward. Murmurs rippled through the crowd, their glowing eyes tracking every step. To them, he was no longer just an outsider. He was something dangerous, something that challenged everything they believed. Inside the grand chamber, the elders of every clan sat in a vast circle, their robes shimmering, their staffs glowing faintly with power. The eldest of her people stood at the center, his voice echoing across the hall. "Clans of the Varen, behold the shame brought to us. The sacred bond of beast and master has been broken. The creature kneels to a human, a death worlder, an insult to our blood." Gasps and growls spread through the chamber. Many elders slammed their staffs, demanding the human's death. Yet others leaned forward, curiosity in their eyes. The huntress was ordered to stand beside the human. Her pride ached under so many stares, but she held her ground. When the elders asked her to speak, her voice rang steady. "I raised the beast in the way of our people. I bound it with pain. Yet it chose him. Not because of weakness, but because he showed it a strength I could not. He did not control it with fear. He earned it." The chamber filled with uproar. Some shouted that she was corrupted, others that she spoke heresy. But still, some whispered in awe, their eyes turning toward the calm figure at her side. The eldest elder pointed his staff at the human. "Outsider, you will answer. Why does the beast obey you? What power of your kind allows this?" The human's voice was quiet, but it carried across the vast chamber. "No power, only respect. I see it for what it is, not what I want it to. Fear breaks trust, but trust builds loyalty." His words were simple, but they hit like thunder. Silence followed, then a roar of arguments. Elders shouted at each other, some demanding his execution, others demanding to learn more. The chamber, that once moved as one, was now split, just as the huntress's clan had been. The beast growled, sensing the tension. Its emerald glow lit the chamber walls, casting long shadows. The soldiers gripping their weapons hesitated, sweat running down their faces. None wanted to be the one to strike first. The huntress studied the human's face. Calm, unshaken, unafraid. He stood before the most powerful gathering of her people as though they were nothing more than another trial to endure. She hated how her chest tightened when she looked at him. Not with anger anymore, but with something dangerously close to respect. Finally, the council leader slammed his staff. Enough. This cannot be decided here. We will test him. If he survives, perhaps his words carry truth. If he fails, he dies, and the beast dies with him. The chamber buzzed with approval and fear. The huntress felt her pulse quicken. She had defended him once, but the test the council spoke of was not meant to be survived. She looked at the human again. He met her gaze and nodded once as if he already knew what was coming. For the first time in her life, the huntress wondered if her people were about to face not the death of a human, but the beginning of something far greater. The council chamber emptied into silence after the judgment was spoken. Soldiers closed in around the human, their weapons glowing, but none dared touch him directly. The beast snarled, its massive body tense, but the elders raised their staffs and rings of energy chained it to the floor. It thrashed, shaking the chamber, yet even in its fury, its glowing eyes never left the human. The huntress's chest tightened as she watched. The council had chosen the trial of survival, a test carved into legend. No one outside their kind had ever faced it, and even among them, most never returned. The trial was designed not to measure strength, but to crush hope. They marched him through stone corridors until the gates opened into a vast arena carved from the mountain itself. The crowd roared from the tiers above, thousands of warriors and elders watching with eyes that burned like fire. In the center of the arena, the human stood alone. No weapons, no armor, only his calm eyes and steady stance. The huntress was ordered to stand among the high seats, her hands bound in ceremonial chains. She could not interfere, yet she could not look away. The council leader raised his staff. Let the trial begin. The ground shook as the first beast emerged from the shadows. It was not the one she had raised, but another creature, one even more feral. Its body was plated with bone-like armor, its mouth dripping acid that hissed where it fell. The crowd cheered for blood. The human did not flinch. He studied the creature, moving slowly as it circled him. When it lunged, jaws wide, he moved with a burst of speed. His body twisted, his hand finding a loose stone which he drove into the beast's eye as he rolled aside. The monster screamed, thrashing wildly, acid spilling across the arena floor. The crowd gasped, their cheers faltering into stunned silence. Datio, huntress's lips parted. She had fought in the arena before, armored, armed, prepared. This man fought with nothing but instinct and will, and yet he stood. The creature came again, enraged. This time the human ran directly toward it. At the last moment he slid beneath its chest, grabbing one of the softer joints between its plated armor. With a grunt of effort, he twisted until the joint snapped. The monster collapsed, its massive body crashing into the dust. The crowd roared in shock. The council leader's expression darkened. Release the second. The gates opened again, and two more beasts emerged, larger, their eyes burning red. The human's chest heaved with breath, but his stance remained steady. He fought again, dodging, striking with whatever the arena offered. Stones, broken spears left from old trials, even his own fists. Each time, the crowd expected to see him fall. Each time, he rose stronger. The huntress felt her heart race as she watched. She wanted to deny it, to cling to her pride, but the truth was clear. His body bled, his movements slowed, but his spirit never broke. And with each strike, each survival, the crowd's cheers shifted, no longer for his death, but for his endurance, for his defiance. Even the chained beast in the council chamber howled, its roar echoing through the stone walls, as if calling out to its chosen master. The sound shook the air, and many in the crowd looked uneasy. The bond between the human and the creature was undeniable, no matter how much the council tried to chain it. The trial was meant to destroy hope, yet instead, it was the council's power that began to crack. The people saw not a fragile outsider, but a force that would not bend. The huntress closed her eyes for a moment, her pride in ruins. When she opened them again, she whispered to herself words she had never thought she would speak. He should not be alive, but he deserves to be. The arena floor was stained with dust and blood. The human stood tall, though his body was battered. his breathing heavy, his fists scraped raw. Around him lay the broken bodies of the trial beasts, each one stronger and deadlier than the last. The crowd, once hungry for his death, now roared with awe. Warriors who had shouted for his execution now pounded their fists against the stone in respect. The council leaders shifted uneasily in their high seats. This was not how the trial was meant to end. The human should have been crushed long ago, but instead, he had turned their judgment into a display of resilience. His survival was not only shaming the elders, it was winning the hearts of their people. The eldest elder's face darkened. He rose, slamming his staff into the stone. "Enough," he thundered. "This is not proof of strength but blasphemy. He defiles our traditions by still breathing. Release the final challenge. Let him die properly." The gates groaned as they opened once more. The crowd hushed, their glowing eyes fixed on the shadows beyond. From the darkness stepped a creature unlike the others. It was larger, more terrifying, its scales black as midnight, its mouth bristling with rows of jagged teeth. This was no random beast. This was one of the council's secret creations, bred only for killing, never for loyalty. Even the huntress's breath caught. She had heard whispers of this monster, a weapon so unstable it had to be kept in chains. To unleash it was not just cruel, it was madness. The human wiped blood from his brow and stood ready. His body shook with exhaustion, but his eyes did not waver. He watched the creature approach, studying its movements the way a hunter studies prey. The beast roared, shaking the arena. Its chains broke free, sparks flying as it hurled itself forward. The human moved, rolling across the dust, barely avoiding its claws. The ground split where it struck, sending debris flying. The crowd shouted, some in horror, others in excitement. The human fought back with everything left in him, dodging, striking at weak points, using the arena's broken weapons as tools. But this beast was faster, stronger, relentless. Each time he struck, the monster shrugged it off. Each time he dodged, it came again with more fury. The huntress gripped the railing so tightly her claws dug into the stone. She could not look away. Her heart pounded not with pride or anger anymore, but with fear. For him. She had seen warriors fall to lesser beasts. To face this one unarmed was a death sentence, yet he did not break. Even bleeding, even staggering, he stood again and again. The chained beast outside the arena howled, its roar echoing across the mountains. The glow of its body flared so brightly that even the council guard stepped back in fear. It pulled against its bindings with a force that shook the chamber, desperate to join its chosen master. The council leader sneered. "See how fragile he is. Even his stolen beast cannot save him now." But the huntress suddenly stepped forward. Her voice cut across the chamber, sharp and fierce. "You blind fools, can you not see he has already won?" The council turned on her in outrage, shouting curses, calling her a traitor. But her eyes burned with certainty. Strength is not in how many you kill. It is in how you rise when no one believes you can. Look at him. He fights not with chains or fear, but with will. That is why the beast chose him. That is why he lives. The crowd erupted again, louder than ever, their voices rising not for the elders, but for the human below. Warriors shouted his name, though they had only just learned it. The council's authority was crumbling, their judgment drowned out by their own people. The human stood in the arena, his body shaking, his breath ragged. The black beast circled him, ready to strike again. Yet when their eyes met, there was no fear in his. Only the same quiet resolve he had carried since the beginning, and, for the first time in her life, the huntress realized she no longer wanted him to fall. She wanted him to survive, not as proof of his power, but because the galaxy itself needed someone like him. The black beast roared, its voice echoing like thunder across the arena. Dust swirled, stone cracked, and the crowd held its breath. The human stood in the center, blood running down his arm, chest rising and falling with exhaustion, yet his eyes never wavered. He faced the monster with the same calm resolve he had shown since the beginning. The creature lunged, claws flashing, jaws wide. The human moved just enough to avoid the killing strike, rolling beneath its body. His hand found a broken spear, its tip jagged with stone. With one motion, he drove it deep into the softer joint of the beast's leg. The monster screamed, thrashing violently. The arena floor split under its weight. The crowd erupted in shock. No one had expected him to rise this far, yet he fought like a force born of storms. The beast staggered, but it was not finished. It swung its massive tail, striking him across the ground. The human's body slammed into the stone wall, and, for a moment, the crowd gasped in silence, certain it was over. But slowly, painfully, he pushed himself up. His body shook, blood dripping from his mouth, but his eyes still burned. He raised the broken spear again, standing firm. The crowd roared, not for the elders, not for tradition, but for him. The chained beast outside the arena bellowed, its fury shaking the mountain. Its emerald glow flared brighter and brighter until the chain snapped like brittle twigs. Soldiers screamed as the creature broke free, spreading its wings and crashing into the arena. The ground quaked as it landed, between the human and the black beast. The two monsters locked eyes. The human's beast let out a low growl, its body glowing brighter, standing as a wall of defiance. The black beast snarled back, but when it charged, the human's beast struck like lightning. The clash shook the arena, stone crumbling under their blows. The human staggered to his feet, standing beside the glowing creature. He did not shout or command. He simply placed a hand on its side, and together they moved as one. With a final strike, the glowing beast drove its claw into the throat of the black monster. The roar of its death shook the skies before it collapsed. Silent at last. The arena erupted, thousands of warriors screaming in awe. Weapons clattered to the ground as soldiers bowed their heads not to the elders, but to the man who stood bloodied yet unbroken beside his beast. The council leaders shouted in anger, but their voices were drowned out. The people no longer looked at them with fear. They looked at the human. The huntress's heart pounded as she stepped forward. Chains still bound her wrists, but she raised her head high. Her voice carried across the chamber. You asked for proof. You asked for strength. Look before you. A human, broken and bleeding, has survived what none of us could. Even our greatest beast chose him. And you still call him weak? Her words struck the crowd like fire. Warriors slammed their weapons against the stone, chanting, their voices growing louder and louder. The elders could not stop it. The tide had shifted. The human turned to the huntress, his calm eyes meeting hers. For the first time, she felt her pride fall away completely. She bowed her head, not in shame but in respect. He did not speak of victory, nor demand recognition. He simply looked out over the crowd and said, "Strength without mercy is hollow. Fear only chains you, trust sets you free." The words echoed and the people listened. For the first time in their long history, they questioned the law of fear. The huntress stood beside him, her beast at his side, and she knew the truth. This man was no longer just an outsider. He was the beginning of something greater, a force the galaxy could not ignore. And though her pride had been shattered, she found something in its place, respect, and perhaps even loyalty. The galaxy would remember this day. The day a human stood in the arena, defied death, and changed the fate of an entire people.